So, I have not uploaded one of my writings in a while. This is something I wrote about a year ago. And they're little segments. They were little segments that I wanted to kind of put together into one thing. They don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. You'll see. And so they're different things, and I'll do a little pause in between, and this will just be one, and then I won't read any more. I'll maybe do some later, right? So it's about a year ago, and it says, if you want heaven, you better be willing to fight like hell. I was really going through it, but I don't know if I heard someone say that or if I heard someone alluding. Okay, this was a note that I had written because there was a father in the little town that I was in at the time, and he was like the mean priest or whatever, and he just he really wanted to uphold what Jesus had told us. He was strict, but he wasn't crazy. I mean, he was just someone who really took his vocation seriously. And so I remember this was the first time I ever saw him speak, and I didn't even know he was that father. I thought this was another guy because people talked to me about him, and I was like, I need to meet this guy. He sounds amazing. And and people were like, really? And I'm like, oh, I need to. So I started going to the chapel that he usually gave mass at, but every time I would go, it would be like a different father for some reason. It was like maybe he had to go do something and blah blah blah. And I went one day with my grandmother, and he said something about that a lot of Catholic people sometimes were very weak, and that he feels like when tribulation comes, that's when we really get to show that we're Catholic and that we love God. And this is before I had converted. And he's like, because everybody wants heaven, something along the line, everybody wants heaven, but nobody wants the trial. It's we all want the glory, we all want to be in there, but then why is no one talking to you guys about that? Once you step in and once you really decide, I love God and God is going to be a big part of my life, and he is going to make these changes, and I'm wanting to make these changes, that's when the enemy comes. Why is no one talking about that? And I love that because I agree. Because I think sometimes, in Catholic and Protestant, okay, I grew up Protestant and Catholic now, I'm there, I'm working on it. Everyone wants to feed you the good stuff, the miracle is happening in abundance and all that. But it's tough. This is tough. Because we're not in heaven. We can experience heaven and God is there. When you go to church, it is incredible, and amen. And we have the angels, and we have the saints, and we have Mary, and we have Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Yes. But it's tough. And we have to be willing to suffer that. Look at the life of the apostles. Look at the life of the saints. Look at the life of the martyrs. And so I think I resumed it, or summarized it. Resumir, sorry. In that sentence, and then I wrote this out. I think it was from my notes because I just was I don't know who this guy is. He's incredible. Later, months later, they explained to me that it was actually him, because then I finally got to meet him and know him, and I was like, oh my gosh, you were the guy who I was like, this guy's amazing. And I always thought he was amazing since before, and we became friends or whatever. But yeah, so if you want heaven, you better be willing to fight like hell. And I just love that. And I agree. So then this is, did I fall in love with you, or did I fall in love with the peace of Christ he put in you? Do I love you, or do I love the God in you? I think for me, as someone, I am a romantic. If you read any of my writings, you would know, but not in the sense that I always want to be with someone, or I'm always looking for someone. I think sometimes I'm just a romantic in the way that I experience the world, where there's a beauty, and I meet people and I feel I love them, and I do love them genuinely, not in love a romantic love, but then sometimes there are people that I become very interested in, and not limerence, relax people, but it's more just wow, like I just think they're this incredible person. And I think you can go through that when you're trying to figure out your vocation, especially, or like you're trying to figure out like who your spouse is. And then you have to like really sit down and realize, be like, wait, like, do I love this person? Like, am I falling in love with this person, or am I falling in love with that like part of Christ that like I can see? And then sometimes we forget, like when we meet people, they can be lessons that God is sending for us to like learn and absorb. And it wasn't like for us to fall in love or like have a crush on this person, which is can be healthy in a way, but it's more just like to see the part of God that is in them and maybe help them pull that out. And yeah, I think I was dealing with that because I had met somebody and I really liked them and I saw so many good things in them. But I knew that like nothing to do with me, you know. I don't know how to explain it. And I think this was even written before, because I think I know who I'm writing about. And I was just like, there's something about them that I find so fascinating. And I'm like, do I love them? Because they ended up not being like the best person, but they had good things. And I think those good things sometimes, like as people, women and men, we like hold on to them. And then what we need to realize is that good, yes, it's them, but it could just be God. And maybe God is just giving us that opportunity to see that in them. And that doesn't make them a terrible person, doesn't make them bad, doesn't mean like we treat them negatively. But it could just be that you're falling in love with that part of God, and maybe it should lead you back to Him, right? And then this follows in with what I was just saying, my curse. I can fall for anyone, so I don't let myself. I have this tug and pull with romantic relationships. I find them to be something beautiful. When I see someone that is very happy and I think it's a healthy relationship, I'm very happy for them and like genuinely very happy. I'm not someone who's like, oh, it's just not for me. I feel like I respect it so much that it's just something that I don't allow myself to just engulf myself into very immediately, because love and relationship and marriage and partnership is something I just respect on such a high level that even though I desire it, I am just scared. And sometimes then when I'm like in need of connection, it's just like anyone will do, but then I don't ever allow myself to fully like be in that commitment, because I know that I can see the good in everybody, so I have to be very mindful. And so it's like my curse, I can fall for anyone, right? Because I think a lot of people, it's like no one convinces them truly, and then they meet someone, it's like, oh my gosh, but I can see good in everybody. But then I'm just like, okay, like I can't let that convince me, because it could be just like they have good things about them, and the rest of it we would be very incompatible, right? Okay. This says, I looked and looked, I found you. Not where I looked, but where I doubted you could be, in me. This is definitely more in my relation with Christ. I looked and looked. I found you. Not where I looked, but where I doubted you would be, in me. I'm not incredulous or scrupulosity. Can't remember the word right now. Like sometimes I'm worried that I'm not good enough, or I think I'm well aware that I'm not good enough to receive the mercy of God. And yet He gives it to me, and I experience it. And I did not understand why, especially in the beginning of my conversion. And I was looking for God. I was really, really looking for God. Like I had experienced Him in other ways, but I was like looking. I was really in that search. And then when I stopped reading the books and I stopped listening to the sermons and the homilies and and I just took time alone, and I really started to look at myself as like a child of God, like a child, like a little child, and look with that lens, with that love and that care, I saw God there. Not that I'm this and anything, no, but I saw that God there, and he was in there because he had been working in me, and all the thing that I had been able to do, he had done. And it was the most humbling and overwhelming and like crazy experiences, because it was humbling because, one, I'm like, why would you? And then it was just like, of course you would, because I am that broken person. I am that sinner that you're like, I'd go find her. I'm gonna go find her. I'm gonna knock on the door. I'm gonna look for her. I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna call her by her name. You thought you were lost. You're not. I'm right here. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you. I'm running for you. And I was running, just trying to understand him, because I have that problem that I want to understand everything. And then when I just looked in me and what the miracle is of me, I was like, duh. There's Christ, there's God, there's the Holy Spirit, right? And then it says, two more. It says, who is the one? Are there many? Why do I connect with those whose hearts have already been offered to others? I feel like I do it on purpose. Maybe that's a lie to make me feel better, allowing me both blame and praise. Excuse me, one more time. Who is the one? Are there many? Why do I connect with those whose heart is already being offered to others? I feel like I do it on purpose. Maybe that's a lie to make me feel better. My intuition, allowing me to both blame and praise my intuition and unconscious. When I'm really sad, what it is that I'm really sad I didn't get there first, or that my taste isn't unique. Who is the one? Are there many? Why do I connect with those whose hearts have already been offered to others? I feel like I do it on purpose. Maybe that's a lie to make me feel better, allowing me to both blame and praise my intuition and unconscious, when really, I'm sad I didn't get there first, or that my taste isn't unique. I think this happens to everybody. We like someone, we get a crush on somebody that already has somebody. And once I know that, I back off. But, I just found it interesting because I would constantly meet these people, and I'm not someone who show my cards all at once. I will notice myself starting to like someone, and then I'm like, and then I kind of try to observe and stuff like that. I'm very take it slow, take it easy, little by little. That's a lot of how I kind of approach romantic things. And so I just felt like, this is weird. How come the last 3-4 guys that I'm liking, they have a partner or they're married? And as soon as I noticed, I'd be like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, because I never wanted to get married when I was younger, and I kind of always had this big thing and that I was dealing with and that I worked through, where it was like, should I get married? Am I supposed to? Am I supposed to be a nun? Am I supposed to be living a single life? All those things of vocation. I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's what it is. I'm liking these people, but I'm not supposed to. And so that's just showing me, because when you try to convince yourself of everything, because everything's a sign. And then I'm just if that to be see, you should have known, you can't be trusting yourself when it comes to these things. You can't trust your inner gut. Even though I would kind of be like, oh, well, I'm very interested in that, but I'm I would always feel I was always. And so then it's me praising myself, because I'm see, look, you knew right away, that's why you kept your distance, or see, you're supposed to be alone. And we do that, right? Because our brain is really just trying to convince ourselves of the things that we're already living to keep us comfortable. And then I'm just or is it that I feel like I came late into the game of wanting to be in a relationship, and sometimes I'm oh, I think I kind of screwed myself over a little bit on that, and that hurts, because I can't do anything now. I can't make myself younger, and I can't push myself to have all this experience now, because it's too precious still. but I'm now open to it, right? And I know like God's timing is perfect, but sometimes, you know, as a human being, we tend to think like that. We tend to start to think like, well, what happened here, and like, why did that happen? And oh, I don't know why that went away. But anyway, we tend to think like, why did that happen, and why is that happening, and like, I think that then you realize like, oh, maybe, and me feeling like, oh, see, I like these people, and maybe if I would have met them before, like maybe I would have had a chance with them, or maybe they would have been interested in me. And you know, probably not, because they're happily married, or you know, they were interested in somebody else, or like maybe I'm like not even their type, which is totally a valid excuse. But it is just something that you start to think, and then I think it just makes you more sad, for me, where I'm just like, oh, I kind of have to just come and swallow that pill, that like maybe the thing is not that I'm so smart and I can tell and I have like this really good intuition, but I'm just like actually upset because I keep worrying about like whether I'm going to find somebody, and I keep kind of wanting to blame myself that the reason it's not happening is because like I came late to the game, and now it's like the options are less, and the possibility is lower, and all these things. And like, you know, maybe we all want to think we're special and unique, and that like no one's gonna meet anybody like me, but like I seem to like the person that everybody already liked. I'm interested in the person who already has somebody, so maybe what I desire is not even that special, and like people are getting there before me, right? That whole thing where it's like, oops, maybe I came late on that, and that happens because God is willing to figure things out and work things out, but God will rearrange a person, if you do not ready yourself, because he might be like, this person is perfect for my daughter or for my son, but if that person does not do the work that they're supposed to do, if they're, you know, going off the rails a little too much, and the other person is doing the work, then he's like, I'm sorry, that's still my daughter, that's still my son. Like, yeah, you may have been perfect for them, but I gotta protect my daughter and my son, and they're putting in the work, and you're not. So now I have to rearrange things, because God's purpose is greater, and protecting those who are faithful is important. And sometimes I'm not the faithful one. Sometimes I'm doing things I shouldn't have done. Sometimes I'm questioning things I don't need to be questioning, and sometimes I wonder if that rearranged things when I could have been in a different place. And you know, those are those doubts and those questions that I have, and I think that's what it's all the thing, right? Where it's like, sure, it's like I'm asking like, who is this, who's that? I remember writing this and just being like the honest part, where it's like, maybe I'm just actually sad, and maybe that's the harder thing to admit, because for me, right, other people maybe it's not so hard to admit that they desire a person, but for me it was very hard for the longest time. I'm at a very different stage. This was a year ago, but these writings are from way before. I remember putting them together because I had the time, and I found them on an old device I used to have. So yeah, and this is the last one. Maybe I crave the pain, the solitude, the heartbreak. Maybe that's what I find exhilarating. Maybe everybody was right. I hate myself or love myself too much. Maybe I only deserve to have a taste, a glimmer, a dash of me and my love. And that's the last one on that one. This one was written like in partnership with the last one, right? And I sometimes, I really was like, what is this? Sometimes I feel like you go through a lot of things, and you're going through them because they're refining you and they're purifying you. And sometimes I feel like it's self-inflicted, because I do think I don't think life is supposed to be easy, but I also don't think God is so cruel that certain things need to happen. I think sometimes they are quite self-inflicted. I think, you know, how other people do things and this and that, we can't really control, but I think sometimes your mental state can self-inflict so many things, and I think that was me starting to realize that. I think it's true, because even now, like, I have things happen and I'm like, versus before it was like I'm like, what does this mean, and da da da, and like you go into that like spiritual psychosis essentially. And for me, love became a very sensitive subject. I think it's even still is. But in the sense that I was always I would meet people and we would really connect, or I don't know, all these kinds of things. And it was still a no, or it was things that they didn't like about me that were like core parts of me that I was like, I don't even think if submitting is necessarily would even solve the issue, because I think maybe you just don't like me. But then in that, I had these moments of like beauty where I was like, wow, if this is what love could be like, then this is pretty incredible. That I got to personally experience, because I've seen other people experience it, and I found it to be just such a beautiful thing, which I think is why I was so scared of it for a long time, because it just felt so real compared to other things. Because for me, like success and stuff like that, it doesn't feel as real because it feels so manipulated in a way. And other things that I did, even though people were like, wow, whoa, I don't know, I just felt like, but love felt like almost dangerous. Almost like, oh, I don't quite know how to understand all of that. And that was hard for me, because I was queen of needing to understand and control everything. And so I had these moments, and I just felt like, oh, like maybe that's it. Maybe that's like all that God has for me. It's like these tastes, these little glimmers, these little shines of love, of this feeling, of this experience, and like I can learn so much from it, and I did. But maybe that was it. And maybe secretly I kind of loved it, because it lets me be this yearning individual where I get to romanticize things and romanticize moments and believe there are things, keeping me apart, and like it allows for that kind of like brokenness to be beautified. And I think we all do that sometimes. Maybe we don't want to admit it, but I think we do. I think sometimes we enjoy maybe perhaps being the victim in certain things, and like I'm not a victim to the world or to anybody. I'm very strong, and that is very much my personality, but I'm a victim to circumstance, and that I'll never get to experience this like beautiful pure thing that I saw change people for the better, for the worse. And I was just never going to be allowed that, and it was like a yearning and a bit of shame, I think, too, because the only person to blame was me, because the only person who had closed myself off was me, the only person who had allowed for surface level frivolous relationships was me, and the only person who had wasted that energy and given up of myself was me. And this was a lot about that confrontation of me. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will put the link, so if you guys want to read it and you don't hear my blah blah blah, it helps. But just trying to go back to those feelings, because it's from a year ago that I published it or posted it, but I know that these are from a while back, because I can remember like the feelings. So